Imagine an age of powdered wigs and grand palaces, where every whispered secret held the weight of a dynasty. But beneath the polished facade of Napoleon's empire, a different kind of history was being written. A history of hidden chambers, forbidden desires, and a code of law twisted to serve the powerful. This is the story of how power, obsession, and taboo rituals turned the highest echelons of French society into a breeding ground for scandal. These are the stories they tried to bury. Tell us in the comments which country and city you're watching from. If you love your awesome country, write your country name in the comments. Subscribe now. I'm uploading secret stories like this on my channel. The year is 1807. A carriage rolls silently through the Parisian night, its lanterns casting long, dancing shadows. Inside, a man waits. His name is Alexandre de Valois, and his ledger is about to get a new entry. The scent of jasmine and betrayal clung to the air in Madame Dubois' salon. Her husband, a newly minted general under Napoleon, was away at war. The house, a sprawling mansion on the Rue Saint-Honoré, was her gilded cage. She moved through its halls like a ghost, her every gesture an act of studied perfection. But the perfection was a lie. Her porcelain skin, her meticulously styled hair, all were a mask for a deep, simmering loneliness. Enter Alexandre de Valois. He was not a soldier, but a silent observer, a master of discreet arrangements. He carried no weapon, only a small leather-bound ledger and a portable wax seal. His presence was a whisper, his influence a thunderclap. Madame Dubois first noticed him during a social gathering. He stood in the corner, his eyes cataloging every glance, every tremor of a hand. He was a collector of secrets, and she was a prize he was now focused on. The problem began with a debt, a foolish wager her husband had made. It was a small sum, inconsequential to a general. But to Alexandra, it was an opening. He did not ask for money. Instead, he presented a simple, single sheet of parchment. On it were not numbers, but a series of cryptic, coded instructions. She was to host a series of private seances, rituals, he called them, for a small, exclusive circle. The instructions were meticulous: the placement of candles, the specific incantations, the very fabric of her dress. Her refusal was met not with a threat, but with an ominous silence. He simply tapped the ledger, his finger resting on a page marked with her husband's name. He showed her a small entry, a single line of script. It was not a financial record, but a social one. It read, Dubois, General Antoine, weakness, excessive gambling, leverage, wife's reputation. The implication was clear. She would comply, or her husband's career and her social standing would crumble. The first ritual began in a locked chamber. The only light came from a single flickering torch. He stood by the door, a silent sentry. She was to read from a specific text, a collection of forgotten verses. The words were not of a religious nature, but rather a slow, poetic stripping of will. The room was filled with shadows, each one a testament to her loss of control. The process was not violent, but it was suffocating. She read, her voice a hollow echo, as Alexander silently watched. The act itself was a theatrical performance of dominance, a ritual of control. The whispers of the salon, once a source of comfort, now felt like 1,000 tiny needles. With each word she spoke, her husband's secret became more and more exposed. The ledger was her chain, his lock the seal. The small, private acts of shame became her new reality. The end of this story was not a heroic escape, but a slow, complete surrender. Madame Dubois became Alexander's silent partner, a beautiful puppet dancing on the strings of her husband's folly. Her gabled house, once a haven, became a stage for his dark games. And so her story ends, but his journey is only beginning. The next entry in his ledger would be a new one, a story of an heiress and a desperate bid for freedom. Élodie de Montaigne was a name synonymous with wealth and innocence. As the only daughter of a powerful merchant, Her future was to be a simple, advantageous marriage, but her heart, a wild thing, had been captured by a penniless artist, a man society deemed unworthy. She planned a secret escape, a daring elopement to Italy, far from the suffocating grasp of her family and the prearranged marriage that awaited her. Alexander de Valois was alerted to the situation by a simple, sealed letter from Élodie's fiancé. The letter was not a plea for help, but an offer, a substantial sum to ensure the smooth transition of Miss Montaigne into her rightful place. The language was polite, but the intent was cold and calculating. Alexander arrived at her family's chateau under the guise of an art consultant. He was there to inspect her fiancé's dowry, a collection of rare manuscripts, but his real target was Élodie herself. He found her in the library sketching portraits of her forbidden lover. She was vibrant, full of life, a stark contrast to the muted tones of the chateau. He approached her not with a threat, but with an object, a small, intricate music box. It was a gift from her lover, the token of their planned escape. But the box did not play a melody. Instead, it contained a secret compartment. Inside, Alexander revealed not a jewel, but a hidden folded page from her lover's journal. The entry was a chilling testament to his desperation, not for her love, but for her inheritance. It detailed his plans to use her to pay off his mounting debts, to abandon her once her wealth was secured. The revelation was a hammer blow. The shock was a physical thing, a sickening lurch in her stomach. But Alexander was not there to comfort her. He was there to solidify her despair. He had a ledger, of course. He opened it to a page marked with her lover's name. The entries were not just debts, but a series of cold, cynical plans. Montaigne, one entry read, leverage, her emotional naivete. Asset, her father's fortune. Her beautiful, romantic dream was exposed as a transactional nightmare. The twist was not just the journal, but a subtle alteration to it. Alexander had forged a key entry, a small, subtle change to the artist's original words. He had taken her secret, her deepest hope, and twisted it into a tool of his own design. He then presented her with a choice. She could either expose her lover and ruin him, or she could marry her fiancé and become a client in his network. The music box, once a symbol of hope, was now a painful reminder of her vulnerability. Her world was a lie, her heart a target. She was not a lover, but an asset. In the end, Élodie chose the path of least resistance. She married the fiancé, a man who saw her only as a vessel for his own ambition. The secret of the music box and the forged journal entry became her silent shame, a constant reminder of how easily her hopes had been manipulated. She became a willing participant in her own subjugation, the pain of her deception a constant silent companion. Her story is a testament to how the illusion of love can be shattered by a single, carefully placed lie. Her story ends as a testament to her pain, but Alexander's ledger is far from full. His next target is a man of the cloth, a respected clergyman with a secret he keeps under lock and key. Father Henri, a respected clergyman in a quiet provincial town, was a pillar of his community. He was a man of God, his life an open book of devotion and service. But a hidden chapter existed, a dark secret buried for years. He had once been a legal scholar, a specialist in the new Napoleonic code, and in that capacity he had aided a powerful family in a legal matter that involved a concealed inheritance and a very young, very vulnerable ward. The law was on his side, but his conscience was not. He had twisted the law to serve the powerful, and his guilt was a silent poison. Alexander de Valois appeared in his town not as a man of influence, but as a humble traveler seeking solace. He attended Henri's services, his face a mask of piety. He never spoke, never directly approached the priest. Instead, he left small, carefully chosen objects in the church's confessional box. A single black and white feather from a raven, a small fragment of parchment with a single coded symbol, And finally, a copy of the Napoleonic Code with a single, obscure article highlighted. These were not random objects. They were specific, symbolic references to the old case, to the young woman's name, to the legal maneuver that had stolen her inheritance. The father's carefully constructed world began to fray. The quiet echoes of the church now felt like a constant accusation. He found himself unable to sleep, his mind replaying the legal arguments, the cold-blooded manipulation of the code. He had built a life on a foundation of lies, and now the foundation was cracking. Alexander, still a silent shadow, finally made his move. He sent a summons, a simple note delivered by a boy. It was not a demand, but an invitation. The truth has no refuge. The ledger awaits. The meeting took place in a secluded chamber behind the church's rectory. There was no light except for a single candle. Alexander did not speak. He simply opened his ledger to a page with the priest's name. He pointed to a single entry. It was not a record of a crime, but a psychological profile. Henri, father. Weakness, guilt. Leverage, the law he once used to steal a child's fortune. The text was a chilling summary of the priest's internal torment. It was a mirror of his soul, a reflection of his hidden shame. The shocking twist was not the entry itself, but the existence of a duplicate ledger. Alexander revealed that he had a second, identical book, and it was about to be given to a powerful family with a connection to the long-lost heiress. He had not come to blackmail the priest, but to offer him a choice. He could do nothing and have his past exposed, or he could join Alexander's network and help him locate other vulnerable people who had used the law for their own gain. The ledger was not just a record of sins. It was a tool for creating a network of compromised individuals. The father, a man of God, was now a man in the grip of a silent manipulator. He agreed to help, his every action from that day forward a testament to his silent coercion. He became a tool for Alexander, a man who used the sins of others as currency. His story ends not in redemption, but in quiet complicity. His church, once a sanctuary, was now a prison. His tale is a dark parallel to how modern institutions, meant to protect, can become complicit in the very crimes they are meant to prevent. His journey concludes, but Alexander's network is growing. His next target, a powerful official with a peculiar obsession. Etienne, a high-ranking official within Napoleon's administration, was a man of meticulous order. His life was governed by the Napoleonic Code, which he had helped to draft. He was known for his icy demeanor, his absolute control over every aspect of his life. But he had one secret, a forbidden obsession with collecting perfumed objects from the wives and daughters of his colleagues. He kept them in a locked cabinet, a silent, scented testament to his strange private rituals. He was not a thief, but a collector of intimacy, a man who fetishized the private lives of others. Alexandre de Valois' entry into his world was quiet and methodical. He did not break into the official's house. Instead, he began to acquire a series of specific, perfumed objects from high society, then sold them to him through a third party. The scent of each object was a key, a whisper of a new story. A delicate lace glove from a duchess, a silk ribbon from a young heiress, a perfumed handkerchief from a married woman. Etienne, unable to resist, bought them all, not knowing that with each purchase he was falling deeper into a trap. The official's obsession was a well-guarded secret, but Alexander knew it was his leverage. He sent a package to Etienne's office. It was wrapped in plain paper, and inside was a single, plain ledger, its pages blank. But there was also a small, folded note. The note was not a demand, but a single, ominously simple instruction. The next scented object you receive will not be a gift. It will be a debt. The twist was not the content of the ledger, but its very existence. The ledger was a reflection of Etienne's obsession. Alexander's final gift was a small, sealed vial of perfume. The scent was the same as a handkerchief Etienne had been desperate to acquire. The official, overjoyed, immediately opened it, but the perfume was not a gift. It was a psychological weapon. It contained a specific scent, one that had been used to taint a legal document Etienne had recently signed, one that could be proven to have been handled by him and him alone. The sealed ledger was the weapon. Alexandre sent another package, this one containing a single sheet of paper with a list of names. He had found a way to use the official's obsession to blackmail him. Alexandre did not want money or power. He wanted a single, specific favor. He wanted Etienne to alter a key clause in a legal document, a minor but critical change that would grant Alexandre's network legal immunity for their activities. The perfumed ledger was not a record of his secret, but the physical proof of his vulnerability. The official was trapped. He could either expose his sordid secret to the world and face ruin, or he could alter the document and become a silent, willing accomplice. He chose the latter. His story ends with him becoming a key member of Alexandre's network, his obsession now a tool of his own destruction. His tale is a modern parallel to the way people in positions of power use their personal flaws to control others. And so, the network grows, and Alexandre's ledger fills with the names of the powerful and the broken. His next target is a woman of immense influence, a queen of society, with a secret that would shake the foundations of Napoleon's court. Countess de Beaumont was the undisputed queen of Parisian society. Her salons were the epicenter of culture and power, a place where information was currency and influence was her throne. She was a woman of impeccable taste, sharp wit, and a past that she had worked tirelessly to erase. But her secret was not a debt or a hidden affair. Her secret was a family member she had disowned, a younger, illegitimate sister who had been cast out and left to a life of poverty, a silent act of betrayal she had kept hidden for years. Alexandre de Valois did not need to break into her house. He simply began to appear at her salons, a quiet, almost invisible man who watched everything. He did not speak, but he had a presence. His gaze was a constant, unnerving weight. The Countess, used to being the center of attention, found his silence unnerving. She felt as though she was being watched, her every move scrutinized. The problem began with a small gift. Alexandre sent her a single, beautifully bound book of poetry. It was a seemingly innocent gesture, but it had a twist. The book was a collection of poems from an obscure poet, a woman who had died years ago in poverty. On the first page, there was a single cryptic inscription, "To my beloved sister, with hope for a new life." The book was from her illegitimate sister, a final, desperate plea for help the Countess had ignored. The gift was not an act of kindness, but a reminder of her past, a silent accusation she had kept hidden for years. The Countess, shaken by the gift, began to notice small, deliberate things. A single ledger, left on a nearby table, was opened to a page with her family crest on it. A simple notation, "Beaumont, Countess, weakness, the shame of her past." The ledger was not a threat, but a statement. Alexander was not there to blackmail her, but to present her with the truth she had tried to forget. He had not come for her money, but for her influence. The twist was the existence of a small, hidden room in his office, a room filled with historical artifacts, letters, and journals, all documenting the lives of forgotten people. In the center of the room, on a small table, was a collection of documents. The documents were letters from her deceased sister, detailing her life of poverty, her desperate pleas for help, and her ultimate death. The Countess had not just disowned her sister, she had condemned her to death. Alexander was not a blackmailer, but a historian of forgotten truths. He had not come to ruin her, but to recruit her. He offered her a deal. She could use her influence to expose the man he had already compromised. She would become a public hero, a woman of justice. But in doing so, she would have to admit to her own past, to the secret she had kept buried for years. The Countess was forced to confront the ugliness of her past in order to save her present. She agreed, her silent betrayal now a public weapon. Her story ends not in shame, but in a quiet, painful atonement. She became a silent partner in Alexander's network, using her influence to expose other people. Her tale is a powerful testament to how secrets, no matter how deeply buried, can be used to control us. And so the ledger closes. Alexander de Valois, a silent architect of influence, used the most private secrets of the powerful to build his empire. His story is a chilling reminder of how deeply secrets can run and how the most innocuous objects can be turned into weapons. If you found this story compelling, share it with a friend who loves history. Don't forget to subscribe for more hidden historical truths.